So just like that, God has given us a book. Um, do you have a phone?
Yeah.
So when you opened the box, you saw it came with a manual, right?
Mm-hmm.
The manual told you how it works, how to operate it, what to do with it, what not to do with it. It needs battery, right?
Exactly.
So it's basically a manual for the phone. You won't know how to operate it without using the manual. Just like that, you agree that there's a God, right?
Yeah.
And He's one.
Mm-hmm.
You agreed. So obviously, if He didn't just we don't just believe in God. Like there has to be something after that. So He sent us a book, and that book is the Quran. It's a manual for our life. It tells us what we should do, what we should not do, what's good for us, what's bad for us, what we should stay away from, what's good and what's wrong, halal and haram. Okay.
How can you guarantee that this book is from God?
Well, you agreed that there's one God, right? That's logical. And you can look at the miracles of the Quran. So one of the biggest miracles that the Quran has, after you read that, the miracles in the Quran, like just the linguistic part of it. If you read it, just the ayahs, the wording in the Quran, creation can't match it. Like, you know, when we write poems or whatever, we can't match what's written in the Quran, the way it is written. So just the linguistic perspective. And another main thing is the history aspect. So Haman was a guy who was the Pharaoh's chief engineer. You know the Pharaoh of Egypt, like a long time ago, the most cruel Pharaoh.
Yeah.
And you know who Moses is, right? So
yeah.
His name has been deciphered by the Rosetta Stone just a few years ago by archaeologists and scientists, right?
Yeah.
When the Quran mentioned his name 1400 years ago. So the Quran must have been from God, because how else would someone have known that, right?
Yeah.
Like the Quran knew about the name of Haman when it was written in the hieroglyphics, like way before. So the Quran knew 1400 years ago, it was deciphered now. That makes sense, right? That's a big miracle. And do you know anyone that's memorized even a social studies textbook or a science textbook?
No.
It's really hard, right?
There's no purpose.
Yeah, well, the revelation from God has been memorized by millions of people. A lot of people have memorized it. Is that possible with any other book? The Quran is about 400 pages of God's words. No other book is like that. You take anyone, they can memorize the book. You take a 7-year-old kid. We see little kids memorizing the Quran, and they keep it in their minds for eternity. So the Quran defines our purpose in life. What are we here for? Did we just come here just to walk around, do nothing? We have a purpose. The Quran defines it. The Quran tells us every single thing we need to know. The Quran will tell us what we should do in this situation, what we should not do in this situation. The Quran tells us everything. It defines the purpose of our life. It's not good enough just to believe in one God. The real thing is to do good actions, such as being kind to your neighbors, giving to the poor, and telling the truth.
Wait, I have a question. One more question about the authenticity.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you know it hasn't been changed? Like just one time it's changed and everyone just memorized the new part.
Oh, so if you were to throw all the religious books in the ocean, right? All of them, every single copy, the Quran would be the only one that would come back to you. Because millions and millions of people have memorized it, and there's only one copy. Like, you guys have how many copies of the Bible, right? You have John and Peter and all that, right? But the Quran has only one copy. If you go to the Royal Ontario Museum, you'll see a Quran 400 years old. If you open a Quran from now, you compare the writing, it's the same exact everything. Nothing has been changed. And that's a big miracle. God, you agree that God is one. He has promised to protect His revelation.